Welcome back to my channel. Today's video I am going to do a what I read in a week. I say that as my daughter starts crying. What I read in a week as a mom. I do have a few new subscribers, so if you didn't know, I am a mother. I have a daughter who is 2 years old. It does make reading slightly difficult sometimes, but I truly take advantage of the time when she is sleeping to get some reading done. As you can see in a lot of my videos, I tend to read at nighttime because that's when I'm guaranteed a good amount of time to read. So I'm mostly on the fence right now between A Court of Frost and Starlight, and then I do want to read Part of Your World by Jimenez as well. So it's between these two. I think what I'm going to do right now, because I'm kind of in the mood to read about Recent, I'm kind of in the mood to read about Feyre and the Inner Circle and all of them, so I think I'm going to read this one right now. That's what we're going to do right now. We're going to read A Court of Frost and Starlight. Clearly, I just rolled out of bed. At this point, I come on camera looking like this pretty often. It is what it is. I'm on page 208, so I'm like in the middle of chapter 22, I think. I started the day yesterday on page 57 and I ended it on page 209. So yesterday I read 152 pages. Honestly, I do like this book. I think a lot of people dislike it simply because there's not really any plot. I really think this book was just a way to kind of like wrap up the last 3 books so we can move on to a new character story in the next one. For me, sometimes I do want something like this when I'm finished reading a book. I want to kind of like really wrap up the characters. Sometimes with some books I feel like I'm left wanting more from certain characters, so to have something like this I feel like really wraps up Feyre's story. At least that's how I feel reading this one. If you've read it, just know I love reading about the Inner Circle. I love their found family so much that I'm really enjoying this book. I think there was a part at the beginning I was like slightly bored of it, but I started flying through it yesterday. I'm actually looking forward to reading the next one. That's as much as I can say without spoiling it. I do have 20 pages left. I'm definitely gonna finish it right now, and then I guess we'll move on to the next book. I probably should have checked my last footage, but I'm not sure if I updated you guys. I finished A Court of Frost and Starlight this morning. I just had 20 pages to read this morning and I finished it. I ended up giving it a 4-star because I really did enjoy it. If there's any fans out there that just kind of want like a nice wholesome moment amongst the found family, then I think it's a good book to read. Now I really want to get into A Court of Silver Flames, but I think I'm gonna hold off right now just because I have spoken about ACOTAR enough in my last few videos. I am debating between 2 different books. Part of Your World by Jimenez. I don't have like this feeling where I'm like I really want to read Part of Your World. I just really want to read Yours Truly, which I've heard it's best to read Part of Your World first. I am debating between that and Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert, and this is a YA romance. What mood am I in? Am I in a YA mood? I don't really think so, but I'm like, what if I go from a YA to an adult book? Why am I so conflicted? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna get Siri to flip a coin. So we're gonna do Part of Your World, heads, and Unfairly Cute, tails. Hey Siri, flip a coin. She said tails. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I guess I will be reading Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. I still have the sticker from Value Village because that's where I got it from. And it's one of those stickers that are so sticky. I read 1 chapter. That's it. I didn't realize that Talia Hibbert is British. At the beginning, there's like a whole glossary on like the slang. But not only that, I'm realizing that YA romance is not entirely for me. It's just the behavior, the way people talk, the overall vibe. I have read about high school people and have enjoyed it. I can read like YA fantasy, YA dystopian, like, but there's something about romance that's just very different, because I think sometimes I can feel the immaturity, and I used to think like it's not a big deal, but I'm a lot older now. I'm 27. I've been out of high school for almost 10 years. I'm like way out of that stage of life. Connecting with the characters, I feel like, is a lot harder when you're reading a YA romance. Again, I'm only one chapter in. I'm not DNFing the book. Good afternoon. It is the next day. I wanted to share a couple of thoughts. It's not bad, but it's not great. It's a rom-com, like a YA rom-com. Like, what more can I really say? I don't even think I ever said like what this book is about, but basically this book is about Bradley and Celine. They both get accepted into like this camp. They used to be best friends when they were younger, and something caused them to fall out, and they're basically like enemies. I really just want to finish the book. I'm gonna try my best to stay off my phone. I finished Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute this morning. Honestly, I'm going to say I did like it. It was cute. It was just, you know, your typical YA romance. There were some things in here that were a bit relatable. Like the main male character, he is someone who is diagnosed with OCD. So he is someone who has a lot of intrusive, anxious thoughts. I don't have OCD. I've never been diagnosed with it or anything. I definitely deal with anxiety sometimes. And the parts in it when he's dealing with intrusive thoughts is what he calls them. It was very, very relatable. Those thoughts that kind of distract you or make you feel less than you are. Obviously, they're young, they're teenagers. There is a sense of immaturity, but I do think that there were moments where they spoke in a very mature way, which was very shocking for people who are, I believe, like 17 in this book. Yeah, it was cute. I gave it a solid 3 stars. Great. I read 203 pages yesterday, so I read a lot yesterday. I did really push through it yesterday. Like I was hustling with the reading. Now I'm gonna read Part of Your World on my Kindle. I already started it this morning, and already I'm loving it. I already know I'm gonna like this book, and at least I hope so, because so far I've really enjoyed it. I love the way it started off. It went right into it. With books, I need the books to start off just right into it. I don't need the whole background of people before we get into the purpose of the book. I want to see things like be revealed throughout the book so that my attention is captured immediately. It did remind me a little bit of When in Rome, which I read at the beginning of this month. When in Rome started off with the female main character, her car breaking down, and her car broke down in front of Noah's house, which is the male main character. Same thing happens here in a way, but this time she drove into like a ditch, and Daniel, the male main character, he shows up. Literally the way this started off was just, my heart already was just like, I hope I'm enjoying it throughout the entire book. I've heard really great things, and this is my first Abby Jimenez book, so I'm excited. I've been wanting to read her books for a while. No one told me how cute this book is, at least not to this extent. Daniel is an elite book boyfriend. Superior. He's just so sweet. I honestly love how this book is going. I love that we get to see their dynamic together throughout the book. I find sometimes with some romances, they're pretty much just like in the friend zone for a while, and I know some people like slow burn and whatever, but sometimes I really do enjoy actually reading about the couple and their dynamic, really feeling their chemistry like from early on. I really like that. I'm on chapter 22, so I'm halfway through the book, and yeah, I really like it. It's one of those small town romances where the girl has lived like such a luxurious life. Nothing like Piper from It Happened One Summer, a little bit more toned down than that, but she lived like a more luxurious life. She just got out of a really bad relationship. He's more so someone who grew up in this small town. He's like that small town guy that he's like a carpenter. He runs a bed and breakfast and all of that type of stuff, but it's just so cute. So it is now Wednesday, and I finished Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez, and I absolutely love this book so much. I did not expect to like this book as much as I did. It was just so cute. I feel like I don't have so much more to say other than the fact that it was just so cute. I really liked Daniel. I feel like there was practically nothing wrong with him. He was just such a sweet guy. I don't even know if I talked about what this book was about. I feel like I kind of just kept giving you updates saying that it was cute. So basically we have Alexis and we have Daniel. Alexis is a doctor. She's in her late 30s. She grew up in a wealthy family, but basically her whole family comes from a family of doctors, so she was groomed to live this life. And she meets Daniel, who's in his late 20s, so we have an age gap trope there. Daniel lives in a small town and he basically is a carpenter, and he also runs his family's bed and breakfast. Alexis and Daniel live very different lives, but they have a lot in common and they have amazing chemistry. However, Alexis is a bit doubtful of how they can mesh together. I also really did like Bree, which is Alexis's best friend, and when we first met her and I really liked her, I was really hoping that she was the main female character from Yours Truly, and thankfully it is Bree. She wasn't even in the book that much, and I'm really glad that we're gonna get more of her in the next book. I found that she was the only person in Alexis's life that had common sense, not even just common sense, that had sense. She was just such a good friend. I really liked her. I only read this because I've heard such good things about Yours Truly, only for me to love this so much and now be worried about Yours Truly not being as good. I feel like a 4 is too low to give it. I want to give it a 4.5, but at the same time I'm like maybe a 4.25, but then I don't want to be that person, even though I do that. I think I'm just gonna give it a 4.5 because I loved it so much. I was speeding through it. This was just too good to put down. So now let's wrap up everything I read for the week. First book was A Court of Frost and Starlight. I read this on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday morning. And on Thursday I read 46 pages. Friday I read 152 pages of the same book. And then Saturday morning I read 20 pages and I finished the book. Next, I read Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. I started reading this on Saturday and I read 83 pages. So Saturday, I read a total of 103 pages. Then Sunday, I continued with this book and I read 203 pages. That is a lot of pages, so don't be fooled. I don't typically read 200 pages, but I was reading for a lot of hours in the morning, during my daughter's nap, and then at nighttime. I just really wanted to finish this book because I wanted to get into something that I liked a little bit more. Then on Monday I finished the book with 29 pages. Then I started reading Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez on my Kindle, and mind you, because it's on my Kindle, I read a lot faster. So on Monday I started off and I read 100 pages on this book. The total for Monday was 129 pages. Then Tuesday, yesterday, I read 249 pages. And again, that is probably because I read it on my Kindle, plus I really liked it. It also is a very easy read. That's not my typical numbers. Then today, Wednesday, I read 30 pages of this book and I finished it. So I finished 3 books, and in total I read 912 pages in the span of a week. Again, some weeks I don't read as much, and this month I've had a lot of these easier reads. I feel like with fantasy or like dystopian, sometimes like even historical fiction, it takes a little bit longer to read, but things like romance are very like quick and easy to read. Some days I was reading a little bit more than I usually read just because I have a longer TBR this month. So my biggest goal this month is to read as much as I can. So technically this video was almost like a motivation to finish my TBR because it is now the middle of the month and I've read 5 books this month, which is crazy.